All right. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you everyone for joining us. Inshallah, today we're going to be talking about something I know is on a lot of folks' minds as you're gearing up and getting ready for your Hajj trip, which is packing, right? And there's a lot of questions around what to pack, what not to pack, and everything of the sort. So inshallah, we'll kind of hopefully be able to get you a really comprehensive packing list today, which you can take with you. And then inshallah, towards the end, we will also be taking questions, in case you had any questions about the topic. So with that, I'd like to just get into it. The first thing that I will say is that it can get very overwhelming when you're just first starting to think about, the Hajj journey, what my needs will be, what should I be taking with me. I know some folks like to do a little bit of shopping beforehand, so what should I be looking for when I go shopping, or what should I be searching for online? And a lot of times that online scrolling will lead you down a rabbit hole of looking up other packing lists, and subhanallah, those packing lists, mashallah, can be very long, and I've seen some that get very long-winded. What I will say off the bat is that what my needs are might not be the same as yours, which might not be the same as another brother or sister's, right? We all have our individual needs and preferences and habits and wants and things like that, which obviously we take into consideration when we're packing for ourselves, the same way you would for any trip, right? But inshallah, today what we're going to talk about is very like a more general overarching view of like what you might need specifically for your Hajj journey, things that they might have crossed your mind, they might not have crossed your mind, right? And a lot of these you're going to find, across the board on most packing lists. But what I'm trying to do here is to really like boil it down to the important things that you absolutely need so that you're not getting overwhelmed with like this 23-page long packing list and you're looking for this exact product on Amazon or exact product in stores. It's open, inshallah, whatever's easiest for you, whatever is, brand of shampoo you you like, right? Take that. But inshallah, overall, I think the main takeaways I want for people to have here is just a general idea of what you'll need while you're there, especially if this is your first time going on Hajj. It could be, I know I keep using that word overwhelming, but that really I think is often the sentiment when trying to get ready for Hajj. And so we want to try to ease those worries by giving you the concrete information, right? The second thing I'm going to mention is just trying to be strategic, trying to be very logistical with your packing. I think a lot of times folks tend to overpack, right? You kind of in your head think like worst case scenario, and you have everything that you could possibly be ready for ready with you, which is amazing, right? Preparation is always great, but also just understanding the logistics of the movement that's going to happen. And inshallah, as these sessions go on, I believe on Sunday, inshallah, there'll be a session specifically going over like what the movement and what the 5 days of Hajj exactly look like. And as you learn more about like just how much travel is involved within the days of Hajj or throughout your trip, you're going to realize like that poses a big logistical challenge of I'm not always going to have, my two suitcases and my carry-on and my personal item all with me, right? And so I have to like start thinking from now, what are items that are absolutely essential and I'm going to want to have with me during the days of Hajj? What are the items I'm going to want to take with me from Mina to Arafat? Or what are the items that I know I need to have with me in Muzdalifah? Right. Similarly, I have, a trip between Mecca and Medina. What needs to go with me, in my hand on the bus versus what needs to be packed away and stored away, right? And so just starting to think about those types of movements and that you're not going to always have all of your bags at any given moment, right? Because they're either put in the hotel or whatever other reason. And then the other thing, again, is like multiple points where items could be misplaced. This is an extremely, extremely common issue in Hajj. I've had people lose cell phones all the time. Wallets get lost, shoes get lost a lot. Things that are harder to replace, like a passport, has gotten lost before. So it's not an uncommon occurrence, and so none of us should think like, oh, it can't happen to me. It can happen to any of us, right? And so just being a little bit strategic and trying to think ahead and plan ahead to try to prevent as much as we can those items getting misplaced and getting lost, because in Hajj it's a lot is happening at once. There's a lot of movement, like we mentioned. There's a lot of different places that you're going to be visiting and shuttling from one to the other, and so there's just so many different locations and places and times where things can get misplaced. So being smart in our packing from now and thinking ahead of like what's worth taking, what's not worth taking, what's worth having throughout, what's going to get me the most use across the days that I'm there, will actually help us kind of prevent these issues from occurring. And so with that, when we start thinking about, excuse me, our breakdown of the packing list, I like to think of it as like five overarching main discussions that we're going to have today. The first one being what not to bring, right? That's a really important one because, like I mentioned, a lot of stuff gets lost, right? And so just knowing what not to bring can also help mitigate those damages, inshallah. And then of course the thing that everyone's kind of, here for and wants to hear about is like the essentials to pack, right? Like what is super duper important and you need to make sure that you have with you when you go for Hajj. And then, of course, there are times where you're only going to have your carry-on with you, right? That like when you're on the plane or perhaps, when you're between cities and things like that. So what should you have on your within your carry-on and with you on your person, as well as like a nice to haves list, which is you don't have to buy these things if you don't have them. They're really nice to have when you're on Hajj. So if you can get your hands on them, they're nice. But if for any reason you didn't have them, your Hajj would still be done just the same. And then going through the things that you might need during the 5 days of Mina, because again, if this is your first time going on Hajj, the concept of like what exactly a Mina tent is, what you're provided versus what you're not provided can be kind of new to you. So happy to run through what are those things that you're going to be taking with you from your hotel room to the Mina tents with you. So with that, inshallah, let's get right into it. First of all, what not to pack. I'm going to keep it very short, very simple. Anything you cannot afford to lose or do not want to lose should not be with you when you're going on Hajj, except what absolutely must be with you, right? So what do I mean by that? Expensive jewelry, right? We don't absolutely need it during the trip, especially I'm looking at the sisters, right? Some of us have our gold or diamonds or whatever else, right? Alhamdulillah, beautiful. May Allah increase it for you. May you get lots of opportunities to wear it. Hajj is not one of them, right? Like I said, this is a time when we know we're losing things or things get lost, things get misplaced all the time. And so expensive jewelry is just not worth the risk and the extra headache and stress that it can cause in a trip where you're supposed to be more focused in your ibadah anyways, and it can just take away from that. And then also valuable keepsakes, same thing, family mementos, anything, like I said, like you don't want to lose. If it doesn't have a functional value, there's not like a really good reason for bringing it on Hajj. So I'd say leave it at home. If it's like granny's old scarf or whatever else, inshallah, leave it home. You can come back to it when you get back from Hajj and you can continue to treasure it and value it. And then excessive cash. So the point I'll make here is that alhamdulillah, in the kingdom, there's quite a wide array of stores and restaurants and things like that that actually have now started accepting credit card, right? So Visa cards are very open, very widely accepted. Mada, which is a local card, is pretty much accepted everywhere. There will be places, a lot of places actually, that will take the tap, so like Phone Pay, Google Pay, Apple Pay, things like that. And then for those places where they don't have it, that's where you keep some sort of cash on you. But when we say don't bring excessive cash, you don't want to be carrying amounts where it's way more than you'll need in the trip. And inshallah, this is stuff that will be covered in the coming weeks as well. Like what is a reasonable amount to bring with you, depending on how long you're there and your family size and everything. But accordingly, I know some people do plan on going shopping and things like that. Within whatever budget or range that you have for yourself, don't bring too much extra cash over that, simply because, like we mentioned, it gets lost, right? And it's not great if we if we are losing things, but especially when it's a lot, right? And if it's a bigger cash amount, it really hurts, right? And so we just want to make sure that everybody's safe and like keep everyone safe and keep your property safe. But definitely one thing that we can do for ourselves is to actually mitigate that risk by not bringing those things. Right? I think we've talked enough about what not to bring. Let's get into what everyone's here for, the essentials to pack. So the main four things or the main four categories of what we're going to be bringing with us, firstly, are documents, right? Of course. So of course, you don't want to lose a passport, but you got to keep it with you, inshallah. And then I'll go through some logistical items, as well as physical attire, and then health and hygiene, which is super important when traveling on Hajj. So with the documents, inshallah, we know they're extremely important to carry. I know no one wants to lose them, but you do got to keep them with you. And so inshallah, specifically to cover the, all the information around documents, visas, immunization records, whatever else, we're going to have a webinar coming up for it on May 2nd. So definitely look out for that, inshallah. And you can kind of go through the list of the documents that you'll need. I won't spend too much time talking about it today. Um, but what I will go over is the logistical type of items. So this is like outside of clothing. What are the types of things that you might want to keep with you? Um, a cell phone, right? Whether it's your local phone here from the States or whether it's a unlocked phone, where you actually want to go ahead and get a local SIM to a local Saudi SIM once you get there, either way, but having internet connection and having a working phone is very important, very critical during Hajj, especially during the days of Hajj when communication is key and it keeps you in the loop. And Allah forbid anything happens, you get lost or whatnot. It's kind of like your lifeline to kind of be in communication. Of course, with any sort of electronics, you're going to need chargers. So whether it's you're bringing your cell phones or your laptops or your tablets, whatnot, make sure you have a charger for each one of those devices, as well as converters. So as you know, we are traveling to Saudi Arabia, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and so the outlets will be a little bit different. So just having those converters on hand can be really helpful. If you don't have them from here, you don't have to freak out about buying them. It's pretty simple to actually buy it once you get there as well. Most of the smaller stores like gift shops and things like that will also have them. So that's very helpful. But what I will say is very, very important is battery packs. The reason I say battery packs are extremely important is because during the days of Hajj, a lot of the times we are on the go. And that means that we don't have, time to sit and charge up our phones if they aren't already charged. Maybe we're sitting in the haram, we're in the masjid, we're on a bus ride, things like that. Having a battery pack very helpful because if your phone's starting to die, like I said, that's your lifeline, that's your communication. Making sure it's charged using that battery pack can be super helpful. A mist spray bottle. I debated whether this goes with the nice to haves or the logistical, but having been on Hajj in the past and having been on some of the most hottest months in Hajj, I will say like keep a mist spray bottle with you. That's just, a spray bottle where you can spray water in your face to cool, to keep yourself cool, especially when you're in ihram and can't be using other items. It's really helpful to have that. And also just, helps you cool down. And I think some of the other stuff that will be covered in the health and wellness webinars, inshallah, and they can talk more about it. But I will also keep that with you, inshallah. And then as well as Ziploc bags. Those are really nice to have for lots of different reasons. As you will see when you go on Hajj, there'll be times where you need to keep things larger items and break them down into smaller pieces or just logistically it's really nice to have. And the cool thing with Ziplocs is they're see-through, so it makes it really easy for you and it helps kind of like organize things, especially in the smaller bags that you'll be keeping with you throughout your Hajj journey. Travel prayer mat is really nice to have as well. For Alhamdulillah, for the most part, we're going to have musallas wherever we go because it is, a Muslim country and we're going on Hajj, but it's nice to have your own prayer mat in case you ever just want to sit down for a while, you have that with you. Again, if you don't have this from the States, you don't have to, worry. You don't have to try going looking for it, trying to buy it here. It's very easy to buy a travel prayer mat or a very thin type of prayer mat, not those really big thick ones because those can be hard to carry, but a nice thin one to carry with you during the days of Hajj. Very simple to find. They're very cost effective. What I will say, super important, is a comfortable backpack or duffel bag. This is for the sake of keeping only some items with us. And I would say more specifically during the days of Mina, right? So just to not to get, too much into the logisticals of Hajj movement, but there's going to be a time where we leave our hotels, right? And so when we leave our hotels, we're not taking, 2 suitcases and a hand carry and all of that. We're really just keeping that little duffel bag with us. It's either like a small backpack or a duffel bag. You can't really take like a whole roller bag into the Mina tents, the way that tents are. And so you want to keep that bag, like a duffel bag with you, so that you can put whatever items you need for the, 4 or 5 days of Hajj in that bag. A small book and pen. This is for the sake of, writing your du'as, and taking down notes and journaling and things like that, and just staying as grounded and attentive as you can during the days of Hajj. And of course, cash and cards. We've talked a little bit about that already. Credit cards are very openly accepted, as well as Apple Pay, Google Pay, or the other types of tap methods. But of course, some amount of cash is always needed as well. So that covers most of the logistical. The physical attire, like I mentioned earlier, all of us have different preferences in the type of material we like to wear, or the clothing we wear and things like that. So these are general advices. Of course, feel free to personalize these to yourselves. And of course, inshallah, for the sisters, we're going to get a lot more in depth with it during our women's Hajj webinar. For the brothers, obviously, there's questions around Ihram, which will be answered during Ihram 101 as well. But again, just generally speaking, you want to make sure that the clothing that you're bringing, it's breathable, it's summer friendly, because it's going to be very hot. We are performing Hajj in June in the middle of the desert, so expect for it to be hot. Velvet, probably not the best material for this purpose. Probably don't have to bring your winter coats. I know those of us who are like in the Northeast right now are probably still have those winter coats out. You can put them away for Hajj, inshallah. Obviously, I think it goes without saying, undergarment, scarves, things like that. What I will add in is comfortable shoes, right? Whatever shoe is comfortable to you is the shoe that's right for Hajj. For the Hajj trip, what I will mention for the brothers, of course, you guys are gonna get a lot more um uh, guidance as far as like what shoes are ihram friendly during the ihram 101 session. But overall, for the sake of the trip, like for when you're outside of ihram, do what's comfortable to you. Some people like to walk in sneakers, some people prefer their sandals that are worn in, some people perform flip-flops. It's whatever is comfortable for you to do a lot of walking in, and it won't hurt your feet at the end of the day, and you won't get blisters and sores. That's the right shoe to keep. What I will say is that it's always nice to also go ahead and keep like um either flip-flops or sandals or whatever else that you've designated for using the bathroom. And I say this specifically for like when you're in Mina. You don't again have to do this, but it's nice to just have a separate pair of shoes that are designated for bathroom. That way, even if they get a little dirty or anything, you don't have to worry about it. Oh, I'm gonna be walking in it and praying in it and things like that. Because they're designated to the bathroom, or they're like, again, those plasticky type of shoes, so you can always wash them off really easily. And then for the brothers, of course, who will be in the white garment of Ihram, having a Hajj belt or a fanny pack can be really helpful during the days of Ihram, so you don't have pockets. And again, that will be covered more in upcoming webinars. What I will say is sun hats, sunglasses, the whole anything sun care related is going to be very, very, very not just useful, but necessary on this trip. Because to remind you again, we are going to the middle of the desert in the month of June. So it's going to be very hot. The sun's going to be out, especially midday. And so anytime you're caught in that midday glaze, it's very intense. So having that type of sun protection, it's all the better for you. Some people like to carry umbrellas, whatever is your comfort level, go for it. But just some sort of sun protection, as well as safety pins. Safety pins, super helpful for the brothers when they're in ihram, super helpful for us sisters for using our hijab. Safety pins are very important throughout. A small towel, this is, your prerogative if you'd like to bring it or not. Some people like to bring it for the days of Hajj because you're not staying in a hotel, obviously, you're in the camps. So it's nice to just have your own personal towel that you're using. And then even if it's like something that you want to throw away, you can. And then of course socks as well. And that for the sisters, we're able to use throughout. For the brothers, when you're outside of ihram, you'll be wearing your socks. Um, Getting to, I think, what I believe is one of the most important parts of packing for Hajj, which is health and hygiene. Now, I will say off the top of this list, a lot of what I'm going to mention is available in local pharmacies there, right? So if for some reason you forgot to bring it or you didn't bring it and you happen to need it, you can buy it locally. But the reason we mention it from now is so that you already are planning ahead. If you have it from here or you have a specific, brand or something like that that you are accustomed to and like to use, you can take it with you. If you don't and you buy it locally there, that's fine as well. Just keep in mind that during the actual 5 days of Hajj, it's going to be pretty hard for you to get to a pharmacy to go buy any sort of medication. So you want to be having it with you before you leave for Mina, right? So whether it's like, okay, I'll get to Medina and purchase it or whatever the case is, just before you get to Mina, you should have the things, whatever medications or health and hygiene supplies that you need. So I think it goes without saying, but I'll say it. Any sort of prescription medication that you have that you need to take daily, weekly, whatever the case is, keep it with you, inshallah. Don't just keep the exact dosage for the days that you need, keep extra. People lose their medication sometimes, people lose certain parts of it because they've sometimes they have like the pill boxes and they have the separate actual medication, and so they'll lose the pill boxes or they'll lose the vial of the medication. They'll lose one or the other, so at least they have the other one as backup. So keep medication, keep enough medication. And then what I would also recommend as a tip is if you don't have the original prescription, like a written out prescription, that's fine as long as you have a digital version, like a picture of it or a digital prescription. That's great, because if, Allah forbid, you lost your medication, you can always go to a pharmacy and get it filled so long as you have the script. I think that's my little spiel on medication. Please make sure that you have it. And the other thing I'll say is that make sure you keep it in whichever bag you're keeping on your person, right? Your hand carry, your duffel, whatever it is, keep your book bag, keep it there. Don't put it in your bigger luggage, because if it's medication that you need, and for some reason you're not able to get to that luggage, it's going to be a problem. So make sure you keep your medication close. Besides that, some of these, like I said, they're recommendations from our side. If you have them, great, inshallah. If you don't, they're always available there as well. And then you can go from there. So electrolytes, people get really dehydrated on Hajj. Inshallah, that'll be discussed more tomorrow as well. Vitamin C packs, cough and cold medications. It doesn't matter what month it is, there will always be people with a cough and cold during Hajj, so it's nice to have that, as well as just like masking. Anti-diarrheal medication, very common that people get diarrhea when they're on Hajj. Mosquito repellent, first aid kit, just like a basic first aid kit with your band-aids and things like that. Ankle and knee support and braces can be really helpful, especially for folks who have mobility issues or just in general, like, normally you're active and are doing fine, but like Hajj is a lot more activity than any of us are normally doing in our day. And so it's nice to have the extra, ankle or knee support, or back supports or things like that for those who need it. And then for the sisters, feminine hygiene products, obviously, sisters know better when their days and things like that are, and inshallah we'll go more in depth with it as well in the sisters only sessions. And then again, health and hygiene is so important. We have like a whole second slide on it, but this won't take too long, inshallah. Your nail kit, obviously, with all of the little accessories that you need. You want to make sure that your nails are cut before you enter the state of ihram. You have a little scissors in case you need to cut it to get out of ihram, things like that. Besides that, facial tissue. I think it goes without saying you'll need facial tissue on the days of Hajj, and throughout, as well as it's nice to have these like unscented shampoos, unscented deodorant, wipes, petroleum jelly, sunscreen, all of that. And then if you're able to bring it in a travel size, even better, right? Because nobody wants to be traveling with like a whole long big bottle of shampoo with them to the Mina camps, right? So it's nice to have those really smaller bottles of these things. And one recommendation that I recently got, which I thought was really cool, somebody mentioned paper soap. So it's actually you can find it in like unscented paper soap, and it's literally, it looks like a little piece of paper, but when you go and put it under water and you rub your hands, it actually turns into soap, which is really nice and cool while you're traveling as well. Besides that, a comb, razor, disinfectant spray, things like that, you know, whatever you need for your health and hygiene. Again, I'm not going to get too into the specifics, but like, you know, your dental health, if you know, whatever sorts of tools you use for your dental health, toothbrush, floss, things like that, make sure you keep that with you. Inshallah, obviously, you're going to be doing all of that during, at least during the span of the trip. Now, to get into the carry-on essentials, right? So again, when we say prepare for the edge cases, what we mean is worst case scenario, Allah forbid, for some reason, you and your luggage are not in the same place. You and your luggage have been, you know, separated or whatever else. You have these items on you on hand, right? And what I would say is that you can do this from the States. Like when you're packing from, you know, the United States to go to Saudi Arabia, keep these items in your carry-on, because Allah forbid, Allah forbid, Allah forbid, worst case scenario, you and your luggage end up in two different places. You have, you know, at least the essentials to get you through, you know, the time it might take you to either get your luggages back or to situate yourself into, you know, getting all of the things that you need. So the recommendation is 2 pairs of clothing. And when I say pairs of clothing, I mean full pairs of clothing. So that way, you know, Allah forbid, you're going through the stress of having lost your bag or whatever else. You're not, you know, also stressed about, oh my God, I need to go to a mall to go grab clothing, right? Besides that, pair of comfortable shoes. Again, I know I had a whole little spiel on it earlier, but you want to keep whatever shoes are most comfortable to you for walking. Medicine, I've already discovered this as well. You absolutely, regardless of when and where we are, should be having your medicines on you. And then your ihram, of course, and especially for those who are going to Mecca first, or if when you're on your way to Mecca, if you don't already have your ihram on, keep the ihram in your carry-on. If you're going to Medina first, this is obviously a little bit more leeway because you can just buy it in Medina as well. It's not such a big deal, but making sure whatever it is that might be the bare bones minimum, that Allah forbid, if you were disconnected with your bags, that you would need, having that in your carry-on can really, really make the difference between a stressful situation becoming even more stressful versus mitigating some of that anxiety by, you know, having the bare minimum needs. And then from there, inshallah, some of the nice to haves. And this list can go on for days. So I'm going to keep it short, inshallah. But I think these are, in my experience, some of the most tried and tested and true products that you can keep with you to really help make your Hajj journey more comfortable, more enjoyable, easier. Yeah, overall. So collapsible water bottle, nice to have for sure. There's water bottles available readily throughout during the days of Hajj as well. But people like to carry their own water bottles for hygiene reasons. And then also, like when you go to Haram, you can fill it up with Zamzam, things like that. So it's nice to have. And then also having it be collapsible, again, trying to save as much space as possible because we're going to be carrying these items with us, you know, from one place to another. And so we want to try to stay as compact as possible. Disposable gloves and masks. I think post-COVID, all of us know the spiel there, so I won't even go over it. Earplugs. If you're somebody who sleeps with earplugs, good for you, you know, keep them. If you're not, this is not really for you. Like I said, so many of these are really like personal things for us, you know, to think about whether we want to keep it or not. Neck pillow, I will say, is really nice because we spend a lot of time, you know, either buses or trains or planes and things like that. So it's nice to have a neck pillow to be able to actually get some sleep while you're traveling. So that way you're fresh and you can make the ibadah when you're actually in the masjid and things. The off counter, this is just like similar to like a tasbih, but it has like 7 beads on it. And it just like helps you keep count of your tawaf. Again, nice to have, but if you don't have it, you know, I I rarely use one, right? So you can definitely make tawaf with that one. What I will say is this next one, I absolutely do not go on trips without it, is a shower caddy. And then specifically for Hajj, keeping it cloth based is because as you'll come to see in the KSA, the bathrooms, and alhamdulillah, you know, we have we're very blessed to have very clean bathrooms, even in Mina, even in Arafat and things. But the bathrooms will not have tissue, they'll not have toilet paper and things like that, right? And then besides that, they also tend to be wet, right? So they have, because the water runs and whatnot, they can tend to be wet. And so that's why it's really nice to have a shower caddy, because you can actually put, whatever items you have. If you're going to take a shower and you're in the Mina tent, you can put all of your essentials for your shower in there. You can even, I use it to one of the pockets to put my clothes in, because I don't like when my clothes get wet. So I put them in there, and then they don't touch anything and they don't get wet. And they stay very dry. For that, if you can keep an S hook for this, for the sake of hanging it. A lot of times there's already hooks in the bathroom and you can hang it on there as well. That's not as big a deal, but yeah, definitely I would say this is like a very hot item that I cannot recommend enough. Toilet paper, as I mentioned, you're not going to find toilet paper when you go to the bathroom in the haram or in Mina or in Muzdalifah, right? So having your own toilet paper, if that's, you need toilet paper to use the bathroom, then that's always best. If not, people use, will substitute with like facial tissue or just tissues and napkins. That works as well. And then this is a recommendation I got from one of the sisters. So thank you, sister. She mentioned taking chlorophyll supplements. Again, not will advise everyone to talk to your doctor before you take any sort of supplements, but sister mentioned that it's helpful with, the days that you're not necessarily going to be bathing every single day, you're not taking showers with soap, or you're not using deodorant, right? If or don't have the unscented ones, it can kind of help with the body odor as well. So I've thrown it on the list, but definitely make sure before you take any sort of supplements or vitamins or anything like that, you always consult with your doctor first. And then the last thing that we're going to go over, inshallah, is for your days in Mina. For the days that you will be spending in the Mina tent. So like the Hijjah 8th, and then for the day of Arafat, when you're going from Mina to Arafat, and then spending the night in Muzdalifah, and then the 10th, the 11th, with the days that you're spending in the camps, right? What should you have with you? These are the days where you have packed your duffel bag, where you have a backpack, you have your stuff kind of compact, right? Because we're all sharing a space, and that space is, you know, it's just enough for you to lay down in, inshallah, and to have just enough of a duffel bag, a backpack. Again, you're not bringing roller bags, so it's not going to be enough space for it. So what exactly do you bring? Obviously, you're bringing your clothes for, the days of Hajj. The brothers will have their ihram and then their change of clothes for when they get out of ihram. Us sisters, inshallah, will have whatever clothing that we're going to discuss in upcoming webinars. But besides that, of course, your medication. I think I cannot overstate this enough. You must have your medication with you, especially during these days, because again, during these days, your access to the outside world, like pharmacies and things like that, gets cut off by a lot. So having your medication, having enough medication, super important. And then not as important, but very helpful. I saw a lot of Hajjaj have it last year and they were really enjoying is fans, right? So people had neck fans, which was really nice. Some people had the handheld fans, whatever you prefer, but people really liked it. I think some people even had like the manual ones with the squirt, the water on the bottom where it squirts water in your face. Great, alhamdulillah, whatever, works for you and makes you happy, but it's nice to have because it gets really hot. Your personal book with your du'as in it. The main thing that we're going to do on the days of Hajj is going to make du'a, is going to call out to Allah. So it's really nice to be able to write down, the names of all the different people who have asked you for du'a, or all the du'as you want to make when you get to Hajj, and to have it with you. And then also besides that, if you have like a du'a book that you read out of, or you do a daily recitation out of, or anything like that, you keep that with you as well. So that way, you can read out of it while you're there in the camps. Besides that, all of your unscented items, these are the days to use them, because you will be in ihram. Your nail kit, this is for when you're out of ihram. You can then go ahead and cut your nails again. Vaseline is very helpful, especially when it's unscented, because as much as we try, there's a lot of dehydration that happens. So it's helpful to just keep your skin in better condition, especially because again we are in the state of ihram. There's no, we're not peeling, we're not picking at our skin, so we want to make sure that we're doing whatever we can to take care of it. Vaseline, I think, is like a really helpful unscented product, or easy to find unscented product that helps us out in the situation. And then scissors and razors, again, for once you're out of the state of ihram. Scissors to obviously go for the sisters to cut their hair, brothers razors. I think it's self-explanatory. Besides this, like I said, we can go on quite a lot talking about the different, items you might want to bring or think to bring, but a lot of it does come down to personal preference. Like, for example, I like will not travel without my oral irrigator, right? But I know that that's not something that generally most people will need, so I'm not going to mention it here, right? Like that everybody should be bringing an travel-sized oral irrigator with them. But what I will say is that you want to think about when you go on trips, what are things that are super important to you? And then also in your daily life, if you have some sort of requirements, some sort of needs, or even perhaps some sort of habitual, things that you need as part of your routine or you use as part of your routine, then you want to go ahead and incorporate it into that list or into the list of what you are packing, inshallah. And with that, inshallah, we can leave it here. Thank you everyone for coming, and I will go ahead and open up for questions, inshallah. Okay, so I see that folks have started leaving questions in the Q&A box, and I will answer there as well. I believe everyone should have access to that and should be able to um, answer, put their questions in the box. So the first question is Amex widely accepted? Amex being the American Express credit card. American Express is not widely accepted in the KSA. Visa is. Visa and MasterCard tend to be a lot more openly, widely accepted than American Express. I've seen just a handful of places that take it, but most places will take either Visa or MasterCard, more so Visa. And then if they might also not take Visa or MasterCard and only take the local card, which is MADA, which most of us won't have. And so in those places, you'll be paying cash. I think that answers that question. What fabric abaya would you recommend? Is it recommend to wear clothes under the abaya as well? Inshallah, we're definitely going to go over a lot more detail in the women's Hajj session. But generally, I think it really depends on what kind of materials you're comfortable with. Some people prefer cotton, others prefer jersey. I personally use a material called neda, which I find very comfortable and breathable. But it really comes down to personal preference. And again, inshallah, we'll talk a little bit more about it, as well as would definitely recommend wearing clothes under the abaya. It's for a lot of different reasons. One of the major ones being chafing. You are going to be walking a lot. So it's really helpful to have clothes that prevent chafing, like tights and things like that. Mosquito repellent will have fragrance, and so it is not allowed during the days of Hajj. Inshallah, this will also be gone over a little bit more in future webinars like Ihram 101. So some of the recommendations for packing are not for actually the specific 5 days of Hajj, but for the overall trip. And then some of them are more so for the days of Hajj. Inshallah, during the days of Hajj, you don't really have to worry too much about mosquitoes. First of all, we're not spending that much time outdoors. Second of all, I've not had that experience that, of getting a lot of mosquito bites, to be honest, overall while I'm there, but also like during the days of Hajj. I'd say it's more so when you're out sightseeing, like when you go to Medina and we take you on your historical tour and things like that, then mosquito repellent will be more helpful. Can we wear ankle support? Should we not keep our heels open during Hajj? Inshallah, again, the scholars will go over a little bit more in detail with Ihram 101. For sisters, because I do see a sister asking, sisters, you are able to use the ankle support period. And then, like I said, that the scholars will go more into it. But basically, if there's a medical need, then even the brothers will be able to use it during Ihram. And of course, everyone's able to use it outside of Ihram. Um, what is a proper footwear for a man to wear in ihram? I'm going to leave this to the scholars only because every year this is a very long-winded discussion that takes place. So I don't want to, start that discussion in this forum, since we want to keep it for folks asking questions about what to pack. But inshallah, Ihram 101 will be super helpful for that and answering that question, hopefully. Are debit cards able to be used in Saudi? Yes, they are able to be used if you have the you know, if it's a you need to use at the ATM, and your debit card allows it, it goes through just fine. I was just there in Ramadan and it was working beautifully. Besides that, at tapping at like restaurants and things like that, if your debit card is tap enabled, it usually works fine as well. Yes, so a sister asked, should we bring our own scissors to cut our hair to get out of the state of haram? I would highly recommend everybody keep their own personal scissors. The reason being, you know, you'll be able to just, as soon as you get the news that your what about your sacrificial animal is done, you can just go ahead and cut your hair and get out of the state of ihram rather than having to wait around and look around for a pair of scissors. Um, Sister mentions Visa and MasterCards take credit cards that don't charge foreign transaction fees. Yes, thank you for bringing that up as well. With your credit cards, obviously, go ahead, reach out to your credit card companies, make sure that the exchange rate that you're getting with the, you know, real to dollar is good, that they don't have foreign transaction fees or that they have low foreign transaction fees, things like that. Um, are Crocs okay? For women and men, I'm assuming you mean during ihram. So if they're okay, period, yes, they're okay, period, to wear. Obviously it comes down to a comfortability issue. If you're like me, you live in Crocs. If you're not like me and you hate them, then don't wear them. But as far as like during the state of ihram, inshallah, again, we're going to get way more in depth with it during those ihram 101 sessions. But for sisters, they're okay. For brothers, I believe it should be okay so long as their ankle bone is uncovered, but again, leaving it to the scholars to make sure that they go over this information. What is the best shoe to wear for women? The best shoe for women to wear is the shoe that is most comfortable to them. So if you prefer sneakers, wear sneakers. If you prefer flip-flops, wear flip-flops. If you like Crocs, wear Crocs. If you like sandals, wear sandals. You know, whatever is easy for you. I would not recommend high heels. It's very dusty and sandy and it will, you know, the heels will dig in. But besides that, really whatever's comfortable for you, inshallah, that's what's going to be the best shoe to wear. So think about when you have to go somewhere where you're doing a lot of walking, what type of shoe do you like to wear? What's your favorite shoe to wear? If you were to go hiking, what is the type of shoe that you like to wear? If you're going to a terrain that's not so even, right? Like, you know, it's different when we're walking outside on our pavement or on the sidewalk versus like when we're going to the park and going for, you know, a hike or a jog through the woods, whatever, right? So think about the fact that the terrain is not going to be the same as like normal sidewalk as well. So what kind of shoes are comfortable for you in that situation? Go with that, inshallah. Currency exchange places will be available, inshallah. They're very easily available, both in the airport and then also in the city. Inshallah, again, this some of this is going to be covered in an upcoming webinar as well, talking about like navigating the KSA and the types of things you guys can expect. But thanks for bringing that up, sister. So you do not, someone asked if you guys need to pack your own sleeping bag for Mina. In Mina, you do not need to pack a sleeping bag for the floor. And for the floor, there'll be, gosh, I wish I had a picture for you guys, but it's kind of like, I think of it as like almost like a crash pad, if anyone is familiar with it, like a thin foam piece of foam that kind of it collapses to save up space and it becomes kind of like a seat. And then at night we all just kind of open them up and they make like a nice thin layer on the floor for us to sleep on. And they're usually relatively comfortable. I mean, I've slept pretty good sleep on those. Um, let's see. All right, someone mentions that the medical staff that will be available, will they not have medication in case of emergency? So, of course, medical staff has certain medicine with them, right? Like your everyday Tylenol, right? They'll have like over-the-counter types of things, antidiarrheal, something like that. But your you know, they won't have like the full pharmacy, right, with them. So they won't have your sort of RX drugs, your prescription drugs, things like that. So that's why I cannot emphasize enough to make sure, especially for the days of Hajj, that you have those types of medications because you know, that's not something that will be easily found within the area, the mash'ad, the area where the Hajj is taking place. Other than that, over the counter stuff, obviously, inshallah, will be on hand. But it's nice for, I personally feel this way, that it's nice for me to just have it on my own and have my own. Like the one that I always like will keep with me is anti-allergies, right? Or anti-allergens, I should say, or antihistamines, because I know that I get my allergies when I go. And so it's nice for me to have because I don't like having to go hunt down this other person or to go ask someone else for it. It's just easier for me. I go into my bag, reach for it, and I take it myself, right? But like as sisters mentioning, if there's an emergency case, yeah, absolutely, inshallah, the medical staff will have those type of over the counters on hand, right? Somebody's having pain, someone's having a headache, or might be running a fever. Na'udhu billah, may Allah keep everyone safe and healthy. They'll have those types of things. Someone asks about umbrella. If you want to bring your own umbrella, you absolutely can. I don't believe that umbrellas will be provided. So you can bring your own, or they're very easy to actually find in and around the Haram area, especially in like those gift shops. They'll have a lot of different like sun umbrellas and things like that that you can find. Some of them even like they have the ones where you can wear them on like a hat on your head, or the other ones that you hold. Um, but you can certainly also bring them from home as well. Yes, so unscented products, someone is asking, do we only need them in Mina? Um, yes and no. So mostly you will need them in Mina, right? Because the main days that you're in the state of Ihram, and are in Mina. But as was mentioned in the webinars right before this one, with Imam Jamal, the types of Hajj, for those who are performing, and I believe most, if not all of us, will be performing either Hajj Qiran or Hajj Tamattu. If you're doing Hajj Qiran, not to get too much into the details of what he just covered, but that means that you're doing your Umrah and your Hajj in one Ihram, which means that you will be in the state of Ihram from the time you perform your Umrah until you finish, the Hajj rites on the 10th, right? Those are the Hajj rites you need to do while you're in the state of Ihram. So in that case, you would want to start using the unscented products from the time of your Umrah. And Hajj Tamattu, you have a little bit of a break, right? So you would use it when you're in the state of Ihram for your Umrah, which is a short amount of time, right? It's not like multiple days at a time, right? It's just the time from when you get into Ihram until you complete your Umrah. But it's nice to have the soap and stuff because everywhere you go, scented soap is there. I say this simply because I've made that mistake many times of just reaching and without even thinking, putting the scented soap in my palm and then realizing, oh my gosh, I'm in the state of ihram. So it's nice to carry your own unscented products for when you're in Umrah. And then in Tamattu, you'll get that little bit of break while you'll get out of the state of Ihram, and then you'll be able to use normally scented things and normal outside of Ihram things, and then get back into the state of Ihram. If you're in Qiran, it's a little bit longer. So, you want to be a little bit more prepared, maybe have, a slightly more of those products than you would if you were in Hajj Tamattu. But a small travel size bottle should get you through even the Hajj Qiran. Amin wa iyak. Um, I actually don't remember. Someone asked if they should keep a thin blanket to cover their bodies while sleeping in Mina. Blankets aren't usually in Mina, are they? Yeah, they're provided. I will ask and double check, but I'm being told they're provided. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The part of the reason I don't remember is because most of the times it is very hot and most people do not want to be using a blanket just simply because it's hot. Even though the air conditioners are blasting and everything, when it gets midday in Mina, it tends to heat up so and you're intense, right? So even though it's covered on the top, you still feel some of that heat. And so it's like most people don't want to have a full blanket, but I think they're saying that some sort of sheets are provided. I simply just don't remember. I believe that's everything. So inshallah, we'll leave it off here. And of course, if there's any additional questions, we welcome them. Both you have on screen the desk number. Feel free to reach out on our help desk, inshallah, as well as come to future webinars. And yeah, inshallah, we look forward to serving you. Take care. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.